The headline today in the Star Tribune is nobody can make any sense of this. And quite seriously, for a fleeting moment, I thought they meant the campaign. And
yeah, right. Yeah. We don't know.
But that paper wouldn't have done it. So ultimately, it's about that horrible story at the Park Tavern in St. Louis Park. Yeah. But when I first saw it, I thought nobody can make any sense of this. I did think they meant the campaign. It seems very eerie, the fact that we can't make sense of it. It seems very eerie to me that the Walz and Harris ticket, for example, skips along and has yet to really address anything seriously. And Trump is holed up at the beach house in Florida. The whole thing is just
well, that's because anytime they're asked about a serious issue, they just go away. They stop talking.
Well, now our governor, Tim Walz.
And Harris is just as bad, if not worse.
Walz did make a fair visit, and it was quite well covered, and it was joyful. He stayed at least 40 minutes.
Blink of an eye.
Yeah. Had the snipers on the roof, the whole deal.
And what did he pick up? The proverbial ice cream cone?
Oh, he got a pork chop on a stick.
He was serving ice cream to the public.
What it was.
He's a man of the people, rookies.
Any questions?
Well, during a brief visit to the fair, Kenny, he ignored a reporter's question asking for his reaction to the news that had just broken, by the way, that the Israeli military had found 6 Hamas-held hostages dead in Gaza. And among those killed was an Israeli-American citizen, Hirsch Goldberg-Poland from Diversityville, whose parents spoke at the DNC on the same night Walz made his acceptance speech. The Israel Defense Forces said the hostages were murdered by Hamas terrorists shortly before our soldiers were able to reach them inside the tunnel in Rafah. What is your reaction to the 6 hostages being found dead in Gaza? A reporter asked the Minnesota governor. I was probably from the Reformer or Alpha News, I would imagine, the reporter. Well, in fact, this is an Alpha story. While he and his press aide, Teddy Shan, were fielding questions during a media scrum in the Dairy building. Walz was holding a vanilla soft-serve shake and glanced at the reporter for a moment. All right, Walz said, appearing to briefly make eye contact with the identified reporter. He then turned away and waved to the crowd. It's a very weak wave, by the way. It's not a manly wave. It's kind of a floppy deal. Yeah, it's kind of a crazy wave, isn't it? Kind of a crazy wave. Thanks, everybody, Walz said, and then he got out of there, so he didn't ask it. Now, here's the thing I wonder about these 2 candidates. It doesn't apply to Trump because Trump's remarks are analyzed by conventional news gatherers, right? Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Yeah.
His theories and such as they are broken down and ultimately ridiculed. Okay. If Harris and Walz are the answer for this country, if they're so great, why are they so protected from having to speak?
Well,
if their ideology and their outlook on America is the way for us to go, and everyone's happy about their decision, the decision to have them representing the Democratic Party, why then have they not spoken seriously about what they intend to do? And why, if they are asked something, are they protected by the conventional news gatherers, or in this case, Walz's press? Yes, you in the back.
Pick me.
Yes.
I have an answer for your rhetorical questions.
Yes.
Wait.
They're idiots.
Who are?
Harris and Walz.
No. You're missing the point of the question. If they're so great, why are they so protected from having to say anything?
They're idiots. That's why.
They
are idiots.
Yeah.
They don't have the answers.
Video of the exchange between Walz and the reporter was captured by a handful of media outlets. Moments earlier, he had toured the famed Princess K of the Milky Way butter sculptures, and we don't know if he had been appraised of the situation in Gaza. but the news of the hostage's death had been widely reported across the globe on Saturday and into Sunday morning. And you would think he would have heard about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then later in the evening, Walz did acknowledge Goldberg-Poland's death on a social media post. But maybe you just say to yourself, well, this is the fair, and that's just a fun time. And he's there to have a pork chop and
some ice cream
and a smoothie.
What's your reaction to the 6 hostages being found dead in Gaza?
All right. Thanks, everybody. That's
Do you think that he'd respond differently if the question was asked in a different area, a different circumstance?
No.
Or
I don't know.
No.
It's
You brought up something really, really interesting, Joe, that I had not considered until you brought it up. These reporters, they asked Trump some really tough questions, as they should.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then they dissect his response and break it down and theorize on what he means and what he meant, again, as they should. How come we don't see the same thing happening for Harris Walz? Or do we, and I'm just not seeing it?
No, you don't. That was my rhetorical question. The other thing to suggest, they're fair, in fairness, every Minnesota politician has gone to the fair and has always considered it a respite from anything serious.
Yeah.
They're at the fair. And I mean, Amy Klobuchar has made a career out of being a non-entity at the fair. She's not going to get involved in anything. Right. She doesn't get involved in anything outside the fair either. But in the fair, she's just glowing with friendliness and cheerfulness. And that's been the fair for Minnesota politicians. And I think it will always be thus. So in that sense, Walz could have been merely falling back on the idea that, look, I'm at the fair. Don't hit me with this kind of stuff. There's a time and place.
Has he ever been
that.
asked that, though?
I don't know.
But to me, it was a simple and easy walk-off question. I'm appalled at what just throw out a quick standard answer and then say goodbye. It wasn't a gotcha question. He didn't ask about the reporter didn't ask about his older brother, for instance, or anything controversial. It just asked a question.
Is that an important story that broke over the weekend, that we learn more about the Walz family?
To me, it's not, but it's interesting, but I don't know.
According to his brother, Walz is not the type of character who should make decisions about America's future. I'm 100% opposed to his ideology, Jeff Walz said Friday evening about his brother. What else do we say here? The New York Post covered this. I think other outlets did too. Besides Jeff, Tim Walz, see, Jeff's the older brother. Tim is 60. Besides Jeff, Tim has a sister, Sandy Dietrich, 63, who lives in Nebraska. Another brother, Craig Walz, 44, died when a tree fell on him during a storm. Which went through a Minnesota campsite in 2016.
Oh, my.
Yeah. Jeff, the older brother, and Tim have not spoken in 8 years. And the governor, who has fudged details of his military career and who delayed calling out the National Guard during the George Floyd riots, did not bother to let his older brother know he was picked as Harris's running mate.
Wow.
My family was not given any notice that he was selected, Jeff Walz wrote. That's kind of, at the very least, that's interesting, isn't it?
I think that's interesting. It's noteworthy, Joe.
Jeff Walz's feelings about his younger brother came to light after conservative activist Laura Loomer discovered in a Facebook post he wrote in March of 2023, the day Trump was indicted by a Manhattan grand jury over hush money paid to Stormy Daniels. We've just become a third world banana republic, he wrote in a post that has now gained 518 likes. That's nothing. He donated, Jeff, $20 to Trump's presidential campaign. There were no recorded donations to his brother during Tim Walz's years in the House of Representatives. Jeff Walz said to the New York Post Saturday, "I'm not doing interviews." Okay. Little has been reported about the married dad who lives on the Florida Panhandle in Freeport with his wife, Lori. Social media show him sail fishing in Costa Rica. Other posts show Walz on the beach and smiling, hugging two young kids on various family outings. He and Lori owned SoFi Music in Inverness, a musical instrument and equipment store, during the decade 2001 to 2010. He was also an assistant principal at a Citrus County middle school in the early 2000s. Lori Walz, that's Jeff's wife, is a Facebook friend with a number of relatives in the extended family, including Jeff's siblings, Tim Walz and Sanda Dietrich, and several Dietrich family members. She's also connected with Craig Walz's widow, Julie. Jeff Walz and Sandy Dietrich, along with Tim, are all graduates of Chadron State College in Nebraska. So maybe I don't know what the family rift is. It's unclear what caused the apparent rift between the brothers. But they have something. They have something in common. Brushes with the law.
Yeah.
Tim Walz was arrested in 1995 for a DUI, and his brother pleaded guilty in 2001 to misdemeanor retail theft and was sentenced to 6 months of probation. That's according to public records in Citrus County, Florida. And anybody wishing to run for office, keep in mind, which is why we don't get anybody good to run for office. There's not a corner of your life that wouldn't be discovered. Not a corner.
The question is, should it or should it not be used against you? I mean, is any of it, Matthew said it's noteworthy, but is it meaningful?
It's newsworthy, I think, but I don't think it's something anybody bases a vote on, do they? Because we've got other candidates. Trump, his
Trump's
sister,
a crook.
Yeah.
his sister thinks he's crazy. His nephew, we had that stuff a couple of weeks ago. The entire Kennedy family said,
Yeah.
The Kennedy family thinks Bobby's crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
It's newsworthy, I think, but I don't think.
Well, you want to know what Jeff Walz stole?
No, not really.
Well, I'm going to tell you anyway.
Lay it on me, brother.
A bicycle tube, handlebar grips, and a 3-way outlet adapter totaling $13 from an Inverness Walmart, according to the Tampa Bay Times. He was ordered to do community service, attend a shoplifting course. Maybe that's to teach how to do it better.
How to do a better shoplifting.
How do you suppose those are very specific items that he probably wasn't going to put on Facebook Marketplace? Do you think he just left his wallet at home? Didn't want to go back? You think it was? I mean,
yeah, those are kind of odd.
If that's
very
the only
specific
blot,
items.
if that's the only blot on your record in life, it's hard to believe that he had a thieving heart throughout his life. I'm going to go with Kenny here. He forgot his wallet, and he said, "The hell with it. I'm going to stick this tube."
Wait, maybe there's more, Joe. He stole a car and a condo unit.
This was just the precursor, the foreplay, shoplifting foreplay.
I am stuck in a pair of handcuffs.
Maybe that was it.
It's all brain clutter. All this Walz's older brother stuff to me. It's stuff I didn't need to know or don't care about.
Harris is apparent. Now, this is Jeff Walz is not the first family member to take issue with the prominent politician relative. Harris is apparently estranged from her dad, Donald, while RFK Jr.'s family has denounced him. Barack Obama was famously dogged by his Kenyan half-brother Malik, while Trump has faced a book-length commendation from his niece Mary, and along with another book by his nephew Fred Trump. So you know what? Nothing will.
Yes.
Whatever you want to find out,
You're going to find
can be found out
in the garage.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's go to Trump in the book. He's got 2 relatives that have written books about him.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
That because they can't make any money doing anything else?
I guess Fred and Mary.
I mean, that seems highly suspect.
I don't think the country's ever been in a darker spot politically.
Yeah.
I really don't.
You're right. I
really don't. Just never in a darker spot politically.
Civil War, maybe.
Well, that was pretty dark, but terribly important. All of this seems so unserious. All of it seems like such play acting.
The period between the First World War and the Second World War, that was pretty dark.
Yeah.
Certainly during our lives, though.
When you look at these fools, Trump and Harris, and you wonder, how did we get here? And then we realize we're beginning to understand better how it's all orchestrated. How did Jimmy Carter, who ironically is thought to have been a bad president, how did Jimmy Carter get to be president? He does not seem that he was part of any inside cabal.
Aw, shucks, peanut farmer.
It seems like he was a real human being. He's still alive, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
He weighs about 6 ounces.
He's been in and out of hospice.